Hello and welcome to the Midday News. Here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi shares his 7 C's vision for future of mobility in India with leading world CEOs. Inaugurating the first ever Global Mobility Summit, says it is the key driver of economy and the next frontier in fight against climate change. Niti Aayog presents 5 reports on the future of mobility in India at the event. Vice President leaves for the United States to address the Second World Hindu Congress in Chicago, 3-day event being held on the occasion of 125th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's historic speech in 1893. ISRO working on building smaller launch vehicles to carry satellites up to 700 kilograms. Space agency says with demand for small satellites growing, it is planning to open incubation centers at 6 places in the country to encourage innovation and startups. Normal life crippled in several places in Odisha after incessant rain since Tuesday. Deep depression over Bay of Bengal likely to bring extremely heavy rains today. Bundelkhand in Uttar Pradesh facing danger of floods after heavy downpour. And gold run for Indian junior shooters at the World Shooting Championship in South Korea. Hriday Hazarika claims the men's 10-meter air rifle top honors. Women's team bags gold and a new world record in the 10 meters air rifle event. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the first Global Mobility Summit, MOVE, in Delhi. Organized by the Niti Aayog, the focus of the 2-day summit is raising awareness about various aspects of mobility and bringing various stakeholders involved in enhancing mobility across different platforms. Addressing the summit, the Prime Minister presented his vision for the future of mobility in India based on 7 C's. He also said that mobility is the next frontier in the fight against climate change. The summit is the first of its kind with over 2,200 participants, including global CEOs participating. The Niti Aayog presented 5 reports to the Prime Minister on various aspects of mobility and its future in India.
The world is now in the middle of a new mobility revolution. It is therefore important to understand mobility as a wider construct. Mobility is a key driver of the economy. Mobility is the next frontier in our fight against climate change. Better mobility can provide for better jobs, smarter infrastructure, and improve the quality of life. It can also reduce costs, expand economic activity, and protect the planet. Thus, the mobility sector impacts larger public outcomes. I'm convinced that India is best placed globally to be an early mover in the mobility economy. My vision for the future of mobility in India is based on 7 C's: common, connected, convenient, congestion-free, charged, clean, and cutting edge. Common public transport must be the cornerstone of our mobility initiatives. New business models driven by digitization are reinventing the current paradigm. Big data is enabling smarter decision making by better understanding our partners and needs. Our focus must also go beyond cars to other vehicles, such as scooters and rickshaws.
Well, speaking at the event, Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar said India is well placed to seize the opportunities presented by modern mobility. Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant said mobility will be a key driver of jobs in India and there is high potential in India to maintain momentum of growth in auto industry. Several CEOs of renowned companies also spoke at the event.
This global summit signals India's commitment to seize the multifaceted opportunities that are being thrown up by modern mobility and the global disruption that it is causing. It also reflects our effort to play an effective role in using modern mobility for shaping a more eco-friendly and more people-friendly global future. India will play a major role in shaping the global mobility movement going forward. The objective of this global summit is to really learn from all of you who are assembled here and who have come from all over the world and who are such specialists, domain specialists in your own fields. And we want to learn, ladies and gentlemen, for India to be able to leapfrog into the front lines of mobility, to be able to generate good quality, large number of jobs, and to improve the ease of living of our people in this country.
Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's firm belief and conviction is that efficient mobility drives economic growth, creates skills and jobs, and gives a better quality of life to the citizens. Hence, designing a holistic mobility policy framework has to be a key strategic objective for both the world and India. As a run-up to this summit, the Prime Minister has made us work with all the states, all the 36 states and union territories, with all the ministries, private sector, all the engineering institutions. One thing comes out loud and clear: mobility is in the midst of a major global disruption. And in this, as we move from internal combustion engine to electric, shared and connected mobility, in this summit, we'll look at skills and jobs, technological developments, data analytics, battery and storage, the sharing and the connected world, fuels and green modes of transportation, and issues varying from walking and cycling to the new goal set by the Honorable Prime Minister of making Indians mobile in outer space.
Increased awareness about the dangers to our planet, to our health and to future generations is changing the way that we look at mobility. Now, when it comes to commuting from point A to point B, the world is going to move dramatically towards ride sharings and fleets. But I don't think that that's what policymakers should be inordinately worrying about. I believe policymakers will be rewarded by focusing on the power of mobility to integrate, include, and transform.
There are a few facts that comes to my mind when describing India's future: high economic growth rate, a large young population, the world's second largest mobile infrastructure, and a strong IT industry. These represent potential to build on the success of digital India policies and become a global leader of the fourth industrial revolution.
Meeting the increasing demand for mobility will improve the lives of billions of people. At the same time, increasing pollution and urban traffic are major concerns, particularly in India. At Bosch, our vision is clear. The future of mobility should be electrified, automated, and connected. We believe that these three lines of development will allow us to achieve mobility that is accident-free, stress-free, and as emissions-free as possible. However, it's more than just an attractive vision. We know well that the path towards mobility of tomorrow must begin with concrete steps to improving traffic today.
Together with China and Nigeria, India will account for 35% of the projected growth of the urban population between the years 2018 and 2050. Personal mobility has long been a liberating force to progress human progress and, in fact, our very existence. However, personal mobility is under threat. Threats from overcrowded cities, overburdened mass transit, congestion, and increasing levels of pollution. I know the dialogue today will help India be a role model and leader to improve accessibility and the quality of life. To do this, we must work together to fundamentally redesign today's transportation systems so cities can effectively absorb growing populations and still maintain freedom of movement.
Meanwhile, the government has decided to keep electric vehicles and automobiles running on alternative fuels out of the ambit of permit requirements in order to boost public interest in them. Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari has said that vehicles using electricity or ethanol, biodiesel, CNG, methanol and biofuel need not apply for permits. He urged auto manufacturers to take up the production of electric vehicles and those using alternative fuel. The decision to keep EVs and other vehicles using alternative fuels comes amid government's efforts to promote eco-friendly vehicles through faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles, FAME India scheme, which was launched in 2015.
ऑटो रिक्शा, टैक्सी और बस जो इलेक्ट्रिक और बायोफ्यूल पे चलेगी उसको मैंने परमिट से मुक्त करने का निर्णय जाहिर किया है। ये तो नए भारत की सोच जो प्रधानमंत्री की है उसके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा निर्णय हुआ है। इससे देश बदलेगा, पोल्यूशन कम होगा, इंपोर्ट कम होकर हमारी इकोनॉमी मजबूत बनेगी, करीब 50 लाख लोगों को नए रोजगार निर्माण होंगे और देश का विकास होगा। इंडिजिनस टेक्नोलॉजी पर यह ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर बेस करके आगे जाएगा और पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट इलेक्ट्रिसिटी को हम और प्रोत्साहित करेंगे। मुझे लगता है कि हमारे देश का भविष्य इसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है और इसी विषय पर ये इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी की जो हमारी कॉन्फ्रेंस है निश्चित रूप से हमारे देश के ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर को नई दिशा देगी। उसी के लिए उसका आयोजन हुआ है।
Well, in other news now, ISRO is working on building smaller launch vehicles that will carry satellites weighing 500 to 700 kilograms to up to 500 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Speaking at the inaugural session of the Bengaluru Space Expo 2018, ISRO Chief K. Shivan said that the agency was planning to open incubation centers at 6 places in the country to encourage innovation and startups. He said the demand for small satellites is growing and urged the industry to come forward and share ISRO's load, as the agency would need 50 to 60 such vehicles every year.
We want to increase more and more the participation. Right now, the ISRO is in the process of making incubation centers across the country at least 6 places. In this process, a lot of startup companies is not only the base business is related to only a big industries like HAL or L&T or Godrej. Definitely, the small scale industries and innovative ideas also we wanted to make it use of that one.
Well, India and the United States have signed the much-awaited COMCASA agreement after the completion of the first 2+2 talks. This will give a fresh impetus to the capability and preparedness of the Indian Army. This will also be useful for interoperability of Indian and American equipment from a single platform. Both countries said that with the completion of the first 2+2 talks, a new era of cooperation between the two countries has begun.
In the first edition of their 2+2 meeting, foreign and defense ministers of India and United States held discussions on bilateral and international issues. Defense cooperation was one of the major components of the dialogue. Both sides agreed on making way for joint production and exports of such products. Both countries will also undergo the tri-service exercise and hold interactions between the Indian Navy and Central Command of the United States.
Defense cooperation has emerged as the most significant dimension of our strategic partnership and as a key driver of our overall bilateral relationship. The momentum in our defense partnership has imbued a tremendous positive energy that has elevated India-US relations to unprecedented heights.
We will continue working together to enhance and expand India's role as a primary major defense partner to elevate our relationship to a level commensurate with our closest allies and partners. Today, we took, as you know, a significant step towards that goal by signing the Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement.
Balance of power and peace in the Indo-Pacific also figured prominently in the dialogue. Both countries have decided to increase joint diplomatic and military initiative together in the region, besides involving other stakeholders.
मित्रों, 2+2 वार्ता के दौरान हम चारों मंत्रियों ने भारत प्रशांत क्षेत्र के विषय पर हमारे देशों के बीच विचारों और हितों की बढ़ती समानता देखी। इस संकल्पना के पीछे जो सिद्धांत है, उसे हमारे राजनेताओं द्वारा पहले ही रेखांकित किया जा चुका है।
President Trump recognizes the long-term strategic importance of India's economy playing a productive role in the world's most dynamic and fastest-growing region. He is intent on ensuring the United States, India, and all countries can responsibly reap the benefits of an Indo-Pacific that is open, free, with fair trade and investment.
For immediate consultations, a hotline will be created between foreign and defense ministers of both the countries separately. Both nations expressed unanimity against the cross-border terrorism emanating from Pakistan.
तो आतंकवाद का मुकाबला करने के लिए हमारा सहयोग गुणात्मक दृष्टि से आगे बढ़ा है। पिछले वर्ष संपन्न हुए टेररिस्ट डेजिग्नेशंस डायलॉग और आतंकवाद का मुकाबला तथा आंतरिक सुरक्षा में सहयोग को बढ़ावा देने के लिए अन्य तंत्रों के महत्व को हमने स्वीकार किया है। संयुक्त राष्ट्र फाइनेंशियल एक्शन टास्क फोर्स जैसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंचों में अपने सहयोग को और ज़्यादा गहन बनाने पर भी हमने सहमति व्यक्त की है।
United States also assured India of help in getting entry into the nuclear suppliers group. The talks also focused on trade and energy security. The two foreign and defense ministers met Prime Minister Modi and apprised him with the result of the talks. The next round of 2+2 will take place in the United States next year.
India and US have come closer like never before. It will impact the neighborhood and it will also impact the world. It will be interesting to see that how they work on convergences and how they resolve differences in coming days. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person DK Pandey in Delhi.
Well, moving on to other news now, President Ramnath Kovind arrived in the Czech Republic's capital, Prague, on Thursday on the final leg of his three-nation visit. He attended an event hosted by the India community and addressed a business delegation where he invited Czech companies to invest in India. During his stay in Prague, President Kovind will meet with President Zema and Prime Minister Babis. He is the fifth Indian president to visit the country and the first since 1996.
The dynamism, our country and our economic growth has made India a bright star in the international arena. India is the fastest growing major economy in the world, with a current growth rate of 8.2%. We have undertaken ambitious plans to build next generation infrastructure, including smart cities, airports, high-speed train corridors, highways and cyber connectivity. The Czech Republic, a manufacturing powerhouse with advanced technology base, can be a key partner for our Make in India, Digital India, Startup India and other national programs. We seek your support in this endeavor.
Meanwhile, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu began a two-day visit to the United States today. He will be in Chicago to address the second World Hindu Congress. The event is being held on the 125th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's historic speech at the Parliament of the World's Religions in 1893. On the sidelines of the Congress, the Vice President will also hold bilateral discussions with several world leaders attending the event. The Vice President will further take part in a program organized by 14 Telugu associations of the US at the Hindu Temple of Greater Chicago. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed on spreading Hindi through day-to-day conversations. Chairing the 31st meeting of the Central Hindi Committee in the national capital on Thursday, he said complex technical terms should be avoided or used negligibly for official purposes. He emphasized the need to reduce the gap between the use of Hindi in government and in society. The Prime Minister said educational institutions can help lead this campaign. The Prime Minister said India is proud of the world's oldest Indian languages like Tamil, adding all languages in the country can enrich Hindi. Well, after the dissolution of Telangana Assembly, the Election Commission is likely to discuss the issue of early polls in the state today. The resolution to dissolve the House was adopted at a meeting of the State Cabinet chaired by Chief Minister K.C. Rao on Thursday. But the Chief Minister and his Council of Ministers will continue in office as the caretaker government. Speaking to the media, the TRS chief announced candidates for 105 assembly constituencies of the total 119 seats in Telangana. The final call on whether to conduct an early election rests with the Election Commission, which has 6 months till March to hold the polls.
There should be some meaning. So to curb this kind of political fragility, unlimited EDSC, I resorted to go to the court of people. Let the people take a call. Why anybody should bother? Nobody has sacrificed, brother. I sacrificed my term. I am having full majority. I am enjoying total majority. Why should I cut my power? I cut it. I sacrifice it, but for the sake of the people of Telangana.
चीफ इलेक्टोरल ऑफिसर जो है वो रिपोर्ट देते हैं कि उनकी प्रिपेयर्डनेस का लेवल क्या है और फिर बाकी सब फैक्टर्स त्यौहार छुट्टियां और प्रॉक्सिमिटी ऑफ अदर इलेक्शंस इन सब तथ्यों को ध्यान में रखते हुए कमीशन उसमें निर्णय लेता है कि 6 महीने के अंदर कब कराए जाएं.
Normal life has been crippled in several parts of Odisha following continuous rains. The downpour is a result of a deep depression over the Bay of Bengal. It is, however, likely to weaken gradually during the next 24 hours. Low-lying areas in several districts were inundated as heavy rains continued since Tuesday. Extremely heavy rainfall is likely in northern, southern and interior regions in the next 24 hours. The sea condition is also expected to be rough to very rough. Fishermen have been advised not to venture into the sea. Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has ordered all Anganwadi centres across Odisha to remain closed today. Schools in Bhubaneswar are also closed today, with rainwater leaving several areas marooned in Cuttack city. Schools were shut there on Thursday as well. Life came to a standstill in the port town of Paradeep, with waterlogging disrupting loading and unloading of consignments. Areas around the famous Sun Temple in Konark are under knee-deep water, while many places in the seaside pilgrim town of Puri faced severe waterlogging. Well, the Bundelkhand region of Uttar Pradesh is now facing danger of floods after rains and floods claimed 40 lives in the last 48 hours in the state. The floods are likely to be triggered by heavy rains and from the water release from different dams. The Met Department has forecast heavy rain in the region, forcing the administration to close educational institutions in some districts as a precautionary measure. Moving on to some international news now, where the death toll from a powerful earthquake that rattled the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido doubled to at least 16, with more than half the island's 5.3 million residents still without power. The 6.7 magnitude quake, which struck Japan on Thursday, triggered landslides that buried houses and paralyzed Hokkaido with widespread power and transport cuts. Local buses and trains and bullet train services were halted. Around 22,000 rescue workers, including police and members of the self-defense forces, were responding to the disaster. Well, moving on to some sports news now, where Hriday Hazarika has won the gold in the 10-meter air rifle junior men's event at the ISSF World Championships in South Korea. Hazarika was the only Indian to qualify for the final and was tied with Iran's Mohammad Amir Nekuman on 250.1 points, taking the final into a shoot-off. But Hazarika clinched the gold with a difference of 0.1 point. Hazarika shot 10.3, a top finish on top, while Nekonam finished second with 10.2 points. Meanwhile, in the women's 10-meter air rifle team event, the Indian team comprising of Elavenil Valirivan and Shreya Agarwal, as well as Manini Kaushik, clinched gold with a total of 1,880.7 points and also smashed the world record in the process. Well, India will face England for pride in the fifth and final test at the Oval today after losing the series 3-1. The Indian team will be looking to end the series on a high note with few changes in the team. The team might drop Murli Vijay and Prithvi Shaw might take his place in the side. Jasprit Bumrah could also be rested, keeping in view the Asia Cup beginning next week in the UAE, while Umesh Yadav could make a comeback into the side. On the other hand, with the retirement of Alistair Cook, the English side will be looking to win the final match to win the series 4-1. The English side too can make some changes in their squad. Rory Burns might play the final test while James Anderson or Stuart Broad could be rested. Now some news from the US Open, where six-time champion Serena Williams of America entered her 9th US Open final after defeating Anastasia Sevastova of Latvia 6-3, 6-0 in the semis. The 17th-seeded Serena Williams finished the game in just 66 minutes to move a step closer to her 23rd Grand Slam title.
Thinking about a challenge.
Meanwhile, in the other women's singles semi-finals, Naomi Osaka of Japan defeated American Madison Keys to become the first Japanese woman to reach a Grand Slam final. Osaka beat Keys 6-2, 6-4. Well, that's it on this newscast. Have a good day.